Hi, all, and welcome to episode 24 of Pain Speaking Sanjiv. Today, I'm going to speak to you about a less heavy topic. Last few episodes have been fairly serious. I'm going to talk to you about the golden age of flying, and specifically the most golden age of flying, which was in the late 1930s and early 1940s, during World War II, ironically, when we used to have this aircraft flying, the Boeing 314 Clipper, which used to be operated by Pan Am across the Pacific mainly, flying starting in New York and then heading across to San Francisco, Los Angeles, then across to Hawaii and then on to Asia. This aircraft, the Boeing 314, was the biggest aircraft ever built at that time. It was magnificent. It really typified, an ocean liner in the skies. They had bunk beds for passengers. They had lounges. They had dining rooms, separate dining rooms from the seating area. They had multi-course meals served on silverware, proper five-star service on board, and I think flying in those days was really has never been matched again, and that it's with good reason that it was called the golden age of flying. Flying was not easy. These aircraft were not very fast. They used to take about 15 hours to get from San Francisco to Honolulu, which today takes about 4.5 to 5 hours. But if I was living in that time and I had the chance to fly the 314 to Honolulu to Hawaii, which is my favorite place on earth, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do it multiple times. And if you look at this image again, this picture is taken in Honolulu. It's a painting, but it is depicting a scene in Honolulu where the aircraft is parked in the water close to the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. The Royal Hawaiian Hotel is known as the Pink Palace of the Pacific. It is still there in Honolulu on Waikiki Beach. And I try to stay there as often as I can when I go to Hawaii, because stepping into the lobby makes you feel like you've gone back to a different era altogether. I somehow feel a special connect when I'm in Hawaii, when I go to the Royal Hawaiian, and when I go to see all the sites that I've grown up reading about. It really is like a time warp when the world was gentler, calmer, more gracious, more welcoming, and where travel was just a joy. Um, this aircraft eventually was retired in after the World War because by that time it became very clear that land aircraft that landed on runways were the way forward. Prior to that, it was believed that flying boats were the way forward because three-fourths of the world is covered in water and you don't need to build runways. But of course, during World War, that whole thinking changed, and then we have what we have today. This aircraft also holds the record of being the first commercial flight or aircraft to fly around the world. What happened was in 1941, this aircraft had started its journey in New York and made its way, hopping across the water bodies of mainland America to San Francisco and then on to Honolulu when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and that brought the US into World War II. So when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, this aircraft was in Honolulu. Pearl Harbor is in Honolulu as well. And the US government issued an instruction that don't fly back to mainland USA through the Pacific because of the war had just broken out, and to go instead to Auckland and then try to fly back the other way. So the aircraft had started in New York, made its way across to San Francisco, halfway across the Pacific Ocean to Honolulu, and then flew on from there rather than back to New York, went down to Auckland, New Zealand, through Indonesia, through India. I think it landed in Karachi, which was that time a part of joint India, pre-independent India, and thereafter through Egypt and Lisbon, I think, it made its way back to New York. So the first ever around the world flight with passengers was conducted by accident, not for the best of reasons, but by this aircraft. So a lot of history, and I want to also take a couple of moments to talk about Hawaii. A lot of people actually don't know much about Hawaii. I mean, people in India especially, which is my primary audience. Hawaii is about almost halfway across the Pacific Ocean between California and Japan. It is a Polynesian island in character. The people, the inhabitants of Hawaii came from the Southwest Pacific, and the culture is unique, the language is unique, the music is unique, and the entire feel of Hawaii is like a beautiful tropical Polynesian paradise, which happens to be a part of America. So it has all the American conveniences, but it doesn't have all of the negatives. It doesn't have big neon signs or crowds, etc. Honolulu, which is the capital of Hawaii, of course, is a big city. But once you get out of Honolulu, and Honolulu is a lovely city, Waikiki Beach, Royal Hawaiian Hotel, etc., are all in Honolulu. But once you get out of Honolulu and you travel around the island of Oahu, There are 5 islands in Hawaii. Or you go to one of the other islands, my favorite being Maui, but there's also Kauai and the island of Hawaii. There's a island which itself is called Hawaii, so is a state called Hawaii, and various other islands. But if you travel around Hawaii, you get transported into a different age altogether. The island of Maui, which is where I like to go as often as I can. I think I've been there at least 20 times. Been lucky enough to go there in my life. And it's got beaches, it's got mountains, it's got volcanoes, it's got vegetation which can be tropical or it can be temperate depending on which part of the island you're on. To me, it is just simply paradise. And again, looking at this aircraft, I can imagine why others also felt Hawaii was paradise. And I just, highly recommend any of you who can get the opportunity, make a trip. The easiest way to get to Hawaii from India is actually through Japan or through the Pacific. It's a 7 or 8 hour flight from Delhi to Tokyo, and then another 7 hours to Honolulu. It's the fastest way to get there. But it is a place really worth seeing. And to me, again, Hawaii captures everything that I really, view very fondly. It captures the beauty of the islands and travel. It captures the memories of Pan Am. It captures the glorious, glorious time of Boeing made flying boats, a different era. It's a time capsule. And I just, in this time when we're all in lockdown, just thinking of Hawaii makes me feel good. So I hope you enjoyed this. And incidentally, my very first trip to Hawaii was when I first graduated from college. I was in the US, living in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And in 1991, a friend of mine called me up to say that, hey, my husband and I are going to be in Hawaii, in Honolulu. And I used to have a lot of Pan Am frequent flyer miles. So why don't you join us? And it's about a 5 hour flight, like I said, from San Francisco. So I booked a frequent flyer ticket on Pan Am, flew on a 747 across to Honolulu, landed at the airport, which is like no other airport, major international airport in the world, because it is largely an open air airport, where the 747s park amongst palm trees which are on the tarmac, and the open air concourses look out. It was heavenly, like really like heaven for me. And then I went and joined my friends. Turned out, unfortunately, that it was the honeymoon, which they didn't mention to me. So their first night of their honeymoon, I happened to show up and I stayed out in the balcony. It was a bit embarrassing. They still tease me about it. But, that was my first trip into Hawaii. And since then, I've been back almost once a year. I also want to acknowledge Jerry Verghese, who's the Vice President of Boeing Global Marketing. He wrote to me about after my 747 episode and said that he had written an article about the flying boat, and that made me remember that I had this. And this is metallic. What do you call this? Whatever. This decorative piece I bought in Honolulu. There's a Pan Am Memories shop in Maui, actually. Sorry, not Honolulu, in Maui. There's a Pan Am Memories shop which has all memorabilia, old posters and stuff like this, t-shirts, bags of Pan Am, because Pan Am was very much entwined with Hawaii's progress in history. And so every time I go there, I pick something up. And so I had this at home. So when I got Jerry's note, I decided that this is what I wanted to talk about today. So tomorrow I'll likely be back to a serious topic. There are many to talk about, such as pricing. Why is it that airlines seem to kill themselves all the time? Something else I want to talk about is what I refer to as the MAFA syndrome, mistaking articulation for action, and various other things. But today was a little break from the serious topics. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get a chance to travel to Hawaii. And do read up and look up the history of the flying boat. It's just amazing, phenomenal. And one last parting thought. It's things like this that gave birth to the entire Vistara retrojet concept, where we wanted people to look forward to flying again, where we wanted to go back to the glory days, the golden age of flying. And this is what inspired it. The memories, the ambience, the romance and glamour that surrounded flying in those days. So those of you who managed to enjoy Vistara's retro flights, I hope we were able to at that time invoke a sense of what this must have been like, and made flying something that you could have looked forward to again. All right, take care, have a great day, and see you tomorrow. Bye.